Cheers.
This is going to be fun.
What is the one thing that your kids should know before they leave home?
Life skills.
Life skills? What's a life skill?
Most of these kids are going out into the world and they have no life skills because the parents have been making all the decisions all along the way. There's a very pivotal point.
But Mom will do it for me.
Of course you will. Magic toilet paper fairy.
Right.
Yeah, we're throwing them out there. And we don't realize that as parents, what we're doing is we're robbing them from the opportunities. That's our responsibility as they switch from being a child into being groomed into mini adults. And that happens right
You mean we can't helicopter over them as they move away, go to college, move into an apartment? We can't just like move in with them?
Yeah, there's actually stalker parents out there that keep them moving along. Yeah.
I think I know a few.
Yeah, there you go. There's a pivotal point in parenting that we really misunderstand, right? The early years of parenting is really to be the disciplinary, right? Because we're trying to help them like stay alive, right? So we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting as the disciplinarian to be able to put the fundamental like core values in place. But right around 12 to 14 years old, we need to shift away from the parenting good, bad, right, wrong and move into a mentoring role, right? To guide them through what is happening and teaching them how to think. We're teaching them life skills on how to make decisions, how to set boundaries, how to understand what's happening, understand what's on their side or somebody else's side, and a myriad of choices that they have so they choose what's right for them, which means we have to give more space to be guiding them and just not telling them. But so many parents are just making these decisions for their children. So children are never getting the opportunity to know what it feels like, the uncertainty when you're making a decision, the anxiety that happens when you lead in. So these feelings are so unfamiliar because the parents did it all for them. And you're literally robbing them from the opportunity to learn and grow. You need to guide them.
Well, whenever we mention this, we hear a lot of like, from several parents, right? And they're like, what does that mean? I'm supposed to like throw them the car keys and say, pay rent and come home when you feel like it and do whatever you want. And I'm not going to look at your grades anymore. I'm not going to tell you what to do. And we get a lot of resistance in that. But let's think about who is that really about when we get the resistance. The resistance is about me as a mom, as a parent, right? I'm like, I don't want you to grow up. And what if you mess up? What if you do something wrong?
And how that reflects on me, right? Versus about them. You're trying to create little humans. And so in the experiences, like something, for example, just staying out like the curfew, right? Well, when you put in the curfew, then they're not learning why they actually have a fundamental need of rest. Right? They're following a rule, not understanding the learning. But when you allow a child to stay up all night and then still perform the next day because they're responsible for their obligations, the promises that they make, to have them feel the feeling of what it's like to drag their butt through the day, we've all done it, and then be able to have an exploratory conversation to say, why do you think you feel this way? What could you have done differently? What is it that your body and your mind are telling you? To really take the time for them to understand that one of the requirements to function successfully is sleep, so that they learn the relationship that sleep is something that they actually need, not something that you tell them to do. Because if they're doing it because you're telling them to do it, they're not learning the skill. And you have to guide, which means you have to be able to watch them fail and guide them into choices that lead to success. And that's the difficulty because we internalize their failures as ours, which means your ego is in your parenting.
Well, and what's funny is what we think is happening is never really what's happening anyway. So I saw a really, really funny, it was like an Instagram meme or something, I don't know what you call it. But anyway, it was a funny thing. And this guy showed a picture and it was a kid asleep with the covers up. And it's like, this is what the parents think is going on. And then they show what's under the covers. And the guy's got like a turntable going. He's cooking ramen. Like he's living his best. He's making drinks. Like he's living his best life under the covers without his parents knowing it. But it's because they're helicoptering. The whole point is they're helicoptering, thinking that they're going to tell them when to go to sleep, how you're going to do it, what all this looks like. When really he's going out and he's doing what he wants to do anyway. He's just doing it secretly.
Sure. 100%.
Right? And so what we're talking about is we're not talking about just opening the doors and saying, okay, do whatever you want, invite your friends, like this is going to be the party house now because you get to live your best life. What we're saying is change the dynamic so that now you can have a conversation about these things.
Intentionally teaching a life skill. Intentionally saying the relationship that you have with yourself, that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, that relationship within self is going to travel with you with your relationship with friends, your relationship with money, your relationship with schoolwork, your relationship with everything starts with the relationship between me, myself, and I. And if you can start showing the similarities on how they treat themselves, right? So if they don't take care of their room and they're always running to catch up and they're always late and they do sloppy work, you're also going to notice that they also are sloppy about themselves. They don't necessarily shower, they throw the clothes on the floor, right? And then also in their relationships with their friends, right? They're also late there and they're not prepared. The habits are all the way around. So you take one small thing and introduce as a guide, as a mentor to say, is this thing, right? How do you feel when you're always late? Do you feel anxiety? Do you feel okay? Do you feel like you're letting people down? To get into how they feel about it and ask if they know, is there another way? Is there another way? Would you feel differently if you showed up differently? And explore options. And then say, are you willing to consider trying it for just today, a different way, and check in how you feel? And what they start to learn is that when they do something differently, they feel differently. This empowers them that they have control over their life and how they feel. And this is missing in our life because kids feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to feel like this forever. And a lot of the kids that we work with that feel like that's the way they're going to feel forever, we find that they had parents that made all the decisions and they don't understand how life works. How do I get to an outcome different than I'm feeling? And those are all behavior.
And we want to empower our kids first within themselves, then within the container of our home when they're minors, and then we want them to leave our home feeling empowered within themselves, that they can go out there and make good decisions and do things without needing us. And so that's the most important thing that we really want to work on with our kids, is give them the tools so that they can leave us and still be productive, still be happy, still make decisions for themselves, instead of leaving the home and feeling like you just let them out of prison and it's like kids gone wild. So try some of these hacks with your kids. Try these little incremental steps so that you feel like you're mentoring your child, so you can open up the dialogue to have a conversation with them to start making better decisions.
And look for Designing Genius in a school near you, colleges, and coming soon, K through 12.